Here now, the South African Health Regulatory Products Authority has granted approval for Africa's first oral COVID vaccine clinical trial. It's expected to get underway this month. U.S. company Oramed Pharmaceuticals says it will not be using Pfizer nor J&J vaccines in the tablets because its product is a strong candidate against the evolving COVID virus due to its unique targeting of 3 proteins rather than 1. We are joined now to explain the significance of oral vaccines by University of KwaZulu-Natal infectious diseases specialist, Dr. Richard Lessells. Dr. Lessells, good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us. So what do we know about this oral vaccine?
So just to be clear, I'm not involved in these clinical trials or in the development of this vaccine, but it is exciting that we're still seeing new vaccine candidates come through and come into clinical trials. And it's also encouraging that these clinical trials are happening in South Africa as well as happening elsewhere around the world. And clearly what the reason for this is that although we have highly effective vaccines, so the currently authorized vaccines are highly effective at protecting us against severe disease and death, we are still looking for areas where we can improve, where we can get even better vaccines. And there we're really thinking about the kind of long-term strategy with this virus. And one of the things here about oral vaccines and this type of vaccine is that it's possible that they might deliver or generate a stronger immune response where the virus first enters. So in the mouth and the nose and the upper respiratory tract. And the other thing you mentioned was about this vaccine was that it doesn't just focus on the spike protein, but on 3 proteins of the virus, so the spike plus 2 other proteins. And that may help to kind of give better protection if the virus changes again in the future, if it evolves and we see variants emerging. So these are some of the kind of things why we will still see these vaccine candidates come forward. But for this vaccine, it's very early. This here is phase 1 trials. So it's just testing the safety of this vaccine in a very small number of participants.
I'd like us to look at the trial itself in a moment. But first, Pfizer has created a pill as well, claiming that it cuts the risk of hospitalization or death by 89%. While I appreciate that you are not involved with this trial, do we know anything about the efficacy of the pill?
So Dudu, here we have to be very clear about the difference here. So the Oramed trial that you're talking about is a vaccine. So the idea of that is preventing infection or preventing disease with this virus. The announcement yesterday by Pfizer is of a treatment, so a pill that someone would take if they are diagnosed with COVID and ideally would take it very early, in the early stages of the disease, and that would then help to prevent them progressing to become sick, to needleization, or to dying. So these are very different things, and we need to be clear about the difference.
Thank you very much for pointing that out and giving us that clarity. So details thin on when this trial would start or other logistics that are required. Do you perhaps have any idea?
No, I don't know the details of the when the trial will start, but my understanding is that it has been approved. It's been approved to happen here. And as I said, it will be a small trial with a small number of participants, really to evaluate the safety of this vaccine. And then the next step then, if they can show that this is safe, will be then to start evaluating the efficacy, how well this vaccine works, how well it protects people against infection and protects disease. So as you know from the initial vaccine trials, that process takes time. It takes several months to go from the first kind of phase 1 trial through to phase 2 and 3 trials, and then understanding how well it works.
I'm curious, do you perceive that perhaps uptake, to this oral COVID vaccine would be a tad bit better? I ask because of the hesitancy to people taking a jab.
Yeah, it could be, and that's exactly why kind of developing these other technologies is a good thing, because, as you say, there may be some people whose kind of hesitancy about the current vaccines relates to the fact that it's an injection and to the kind of side effects that you might get at the injection site. I'm not sure it's a big factor in stopping people from getting vaccinated, but it may be a factor for some people. And if we can have other options that are also safe and effective, then that will help us in the long term with this virus.
Dr. Lessells, what has been, the conversation around the disposal of certain equipment that we use throughout the vaccine, right? So environmentalists very much worried about masks, for instance, that are not recyclable in terms of us disposing of that. Also taking a look at syringes. So when we have oral, vaccines, some perceiving that it would be better. So from the work you do, I guess the question is, what will this do in terms of eliminating syringes and making this whole process environmentally friendly?
It's a good question. To be frank with you, I haven't thought about that aspect of it, but I think you're right. There are other advantages, and also we have seen that one of the challenges with the injectable vaccines, we've had trouble with the supply of even just the vials to hold the vaccines, as well as the syringes, as you say. And so, again, just eliminating that and having different technologies, different types of vaccine may help us in the future. But we have to go through all the same rigorous evaluation to see whether these types of vaccine are safe and then whether they are effective.
Dr. Richard Lessells, infectious diseases specialist at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.